What we always kind of like to do at the beginning of a podcast is when I look at podcasts, I'm always interested in the subject matter, but I also want to know who the person is.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think so many people have probably seen you on stage before, and they're amazed by what you have to say, but they don't really know the person.
Oh, yes.
So could you tell us a little bit about your background? You were telling me a little bit about that beforehand, so that people can kind of get a gauge on you. Who are you? What do you stand for?
Absolutely. So I was born in Brazil, in Rio. I still live in Rio. And so that's where my family is. And in the beginning of my career, I started in the consulting area, in the big companies. This is the official start, because before that, I told you that between 15 years old and 22 years old, I had another job. I was a professional actor in Brazil. So movies, plays, and some TV. But at that time, with 22 years old, I decided to retire, right? And I started my career initially in Accenture, then in Deloitte. So after a few years, I left and I found my first company from the scratch in Latin America. Then a little later, another one. And finally, in 2017, I sold my company. We were like 600 people at that time.
Oh, wow.
And I sold the company to...
Doing project management consulting or product consulting?
IT.
Yeah,
IT and project management. But at that time, I sold the company to one of the big consulting companies, international consulting companies, and that was the moment that I said, okay, what can I do now, right? And I have a very good experience in terms of communities, because I'm a member of PMI for 26 years, right? So half of my life, literally. I started when I was a baby.
26 years for me as well.
Exactly.
1999,
so you know what I'm talking about. I started when I was really young, and it's something that made a big difference in my life. I co-founded Rio chapter in 1999. All this time I've been a very active volunteer, and what really amazed me is the power of collaboration. How together as volunteers we can do fantastic things. And that's why in 2017 I found PMOGA from the scratch. So PMOGA, PMO Global Alliance, was I could say the first community of PMOs in a global perspective. and we started to grow very fast.
What was your motivation to start? I mean, I know you remember that back in the day, PMI had special interest groups, but I don't think there was ever a special interest group for PMOs, was there?
Actually, there was one, very big, But PMI, I don't know exactly why, but by 2016, 2017, PMI just closed all interest groups, and then there was not a PMO group anymore. So the official event, that was a big one that usually happened in the US, also stopped. So then the pandemic came. PMI was out of the PMO landscape. So there was a big gap, because PMO people, they are not project managers, right? There are many differences in terms of challenges, objectives, competences. The life is totally different. Some people make a confusion and believe that because there is a P of project is the same thing, but definitely it's not. So PMOGA was very well received by the community, and very, very quickly, in like 2 years, 3 years, we were 10,000 people in almost 100 countries.
Wow.
With many, many projects.
I didn't realize it was that many countries.
It was crazy how things, happen so fast. And we started to develop many projects, research, events, the awards, many great...
I remember you had...
the PMO Global Awards that became the largest one in the world. It started in 2018. So actually, everything was going very well. So then in 2023, we were around 30,000 people, more than 150 countries. And PMI came. When I say came, we have been always together.
Yeah,
right?
The door was never closed.
I was like a cousin,
Yeah.
you know. But PMI came in the beginning of 2023, and during 1 year, we start to discuss how could we work together in a kind of partnership or something like that. So in the end of 2023, we decided for an acquisition, and then PMOGA in 2024 became the PMI's global community of PMOs. So PMOGA now is not a company
We talked
anymore.
about this beforehand. By the way, anybody who has anything to say in PMI, Pierre, anybody else, a stroke of brilliance. I think it's a stroke of brilliance, number one, because like you said, the PMO community is essential.
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
an essential part of the DNA of the what I call project program portfolio management. It needs to be included. It's its own thing, but it needs to be included. And some of the most important personas in the stakeholder landscape, and also the ones who drive project management governance, standardization, training, standards, all that kind of stuff. So it definitely, I think it was just an oversight. I think it kind of slipped. They had so many other things they were doing, they missed it. And what I love about the fact that you guys did this collaboration, I was really stunned when I saw it, was it reminded me of the old and still present culture of PMI, of inclusivity. PMI doesn't have to invent everything. If people do good things, think global but act local, you use something that started local and became international. PMI was still very much bigger, but they graciously took you under their umbrella, and I think that's a stroke of brilliance, and I'm looking forward to more of that in going in that direction.
Absolutely.